cell phone, please. Let me belong to St. John Branch. Welcome to this meeting. I'm the open the end of the will be enlightened to what's happening in the budget. I'll now turn the meeting over to Corinne. Tyra, who's going to chair this part of the meeting?
Pleasant good evening, everyone. My name is Tyra Trotman, for those of you who don't know me. I'm the chair of the Young Democrats, as well as the Shadow Minister for Youth, Sports and Culture. Usually I'd be speaking, but tonight this is a new role for me. It's quite exciting. And as the Shadow Minister for Youth, Sports and Culture, it would be remiss of me not to congratulate Coventry School for doing so excellent. I know y'all will be vexed. It's okay. As a former Coventryan myself, I am glowing and beaming with pride. So welcome. Welcome to our St. John branch meeting. It is a pleasure and an honor to see you out this evening. And I just want to call, first of all, Mr. Matthew Thurn, or Pastor Matthew Thurn, who's our chaplain, as well as our Shadow Minister for Poverty Alleviation and People Empowerment. So, Pastor Thurn, over to you.
A wonderful good evening. And thank you so much, Tyra, for your spirited introduction. Thank you to, firstly, the St. John's branch for giving the opportunity to address you this evening. And therefore, my message is not only to the beloved people of St. John, but also to those that are here supporting us. This is to, I think, our wider Democratic Labour Party family. That is to those that perhaps do not have any allegiance to party itself, and even to those that are members of other parties. I speak to all this evening. Every last body. I do want to share something, though, a little bit about myself. My focus has always been, as you all get to know me a little bit, my focus has always been, and it will always be, for truth and justice. As long as I can remember, it has always been for the upliftment of people, as a representation for people, and it will always be for representation for God. So those are the things that matter to me. No person say, well, we don't make promises, but that is one that I can make, whether I do so through a constituency or whether I do so through this party or whatever. I can say for sure that to people and to God, I shall always represent, because we need... I think people need genuine and honest upliftment, and the people need to know that there's someone that they have a voice through. And I believe that people have something to offer from all classes, from all walks of life. And that's what I'm here to represent. So God and people, those will always be the things that I will represent. And I thank you guys for giving me that opportunity. It is said that, thank you, it is said that a man has 3 hearts. One in his mouth for the world to know, one inside for his friends and family, and one buried deep within that nobody knows and that he keeps to himself. I want to quote something that a party member shared quite recently in the public forum. So not my words, but I thought they were a good reflection. And as I'm opening the baton before we get the heavyweights coming through, the Brian Laras and the Cigar Fuel Sobers, this is just my 2 cents, to get the ball rolling. And I warm up the people before we get going. They said that Ralph Thorne placed the financial management and governance systems of the Motley administration on trial. The overwhelming evidence resulted in a verdict that the systems are broken and are at significant variant to acceptable levels. In a court of law, guilty verdicts would have been brought against the perpetrators. The taxpayers, me and you, would have received justice. Now that part stood out to me because I know all of us in some way, either past, present, or to come, have been a part of this system known as the tax system. It is said that power has always corrupted, and absolute power has always corrupted absolutely. That being said, I want to share something from the UN, from the Human Development Index, I believe, back in 03, going into 04. And one thing that they highlighted and pointed to was that mismanagement often hinders human development within a country. And likewise, you guys hear me all right? Yes? Okay, good. I want to make sure I'm projecting, make sure everybody can get what I'm saying. I think this is important because we have a serious issue where we have, and these aren't my words, this is the UN stating this, and stating this not only for the, I think on a global scale, but also referring to our area here within the Caribbean and from Barbados as well. And they spoke about how mismanagement damages human development within society and the growth that people put in to push the country from point A to point B. I think if we look at the budget, many persons would say that all is well, or I think the attempt from the budget was to show that all is well and to give Barbadians the intention, or give Barbadians the idea rather, that everything is okay. But the challenge that I am seeing with that is that when you look at the economy, when you look at what is going on within the country, we see a plethora of issues that are manifesting like sores that are not lining up with the words that come out of the mouths of persons in the past couple of days. I like to make the analogy to someone that says, I love you, and then showing I love you. You understand what I'm saying? Because it's easy to say, but then you're saying it on one hand, and then on the other hand, you're not quite seeing the things that you said, or the things that you portray that you're doing, or the things that you are trying to manifest for people. And I think that's a little bit of the incongruence. Just want to take a moment to welcome our former Minister of Parliament, Donville Innes. Welcome, sir. I love the white, by the way. That was one of my choices, but then my daughter happened to it, so I ended up in this one. May God bless you, sir. May God bless you. May God bless you. Praise God. So we got the government saying one thing, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that there's everything that was listed or everything that was said that we're going to take issue with. Surely, right? I think reasonably speaking, right? Reasonably speaking, we can point to some things that were good, some things that indicated, well, you know what, there's some things happening on the horizon that promise growth, some positive elements that we can highlight. But by and large, what we have seen, in my opinion, or the opinion of some of the experts that I've connected with, is that we had a presentation that was geared largely towards, I would say, upper class. And it lacked some exposure and it lacked some depth towards persons that were in the middle class and the lower class based on the structure of how it was laid out. And I can share on a few of those things so you can understand what I'm saying. So, for example, we don't have any new taxes. I think, like I said, that's a good thing. I don't think anybody could say, well, you know what, man, not should tax you more. Huh? Yeah, we had enough taxes, right? I don't think we can argue that, but at the same time, inflation is still rising. And then there are costs that are going to be going up for some other things. So we need to have, I think, a greater effort placed on the things that will give us some reprieve in the short term. Look, one of the things I do is pastor. That's really my second hat. My first hat is really as an entrepreneur. So I look at things and I say, okay, how do we extract the resources from the economy? How do we better play on the world stage, running, I think, an economy similar to how we manage a business? And the reality is that if we have persons that are most vulnerable in the poor and the middle class, we should then have systems or the budget that is catered towards the benefit of those people. Because here's what's going to happen. You see, whether right now we're faced with crisis, and whether it is personal crisis, or whether it is national or international crisis, the issue is that when it happens, regardless of how it comes to our door, and it will, right? Because we just had COVID, and you heard Fauci and some others saying again, it is only a matter of time. Listen to what I'm saying. It is only a matter of time before we are faced with another global crisis, correct? It's just a matter of time, whether it is of the same nature as past, or it is something different in the form of a hurricane or something of that nature. Therefore, I think that is incumbent on the government, and whether that be us at some point, to protect those that are most vulnerable. And that includes those that are poor, that includes those that are almost poor, believe it or not, in the middle class, because a lot of us, unless you have $100,000 on the bank, you're one bad illness away from serious bankruptcy. Did you know that? That's a serious thing. And a lot of us, I know I don't have that. I'm working to that, though, and I'll share some points as to what I think we can all do to put ourselves in a better position to be able to weather the storm and the crisis that we are currently experiencing. So I think that is something that ought to have been a focus, honestly speaking. I just talking for talking's sake. I honestly believe that's something that should have been hammered home, and we should have seen greater emphasis on recognizing that it is the majority of people that need that help, that need that hand up and not just that hand out. The time for handouts has passed, long past. We're in a different phase, I think, in the economy, in this country. In the world stage, I think we are falling behind. We're falling behind. We don't see it because we are seeing things through a different lens, but we're falling behind. And we need to move from that place of a hand out to a hand up. And let me share some of the ways how I think that we can do that, because it is not enough to say to people to save. That is good. I myself am trying to save, but saving is very difficult if you don't even have enough to make ends meet in your own household today. Tell me, how are you going to save from the little that you have? It is very difficult. I remember in the first year of marriage, welcome to our President, Dr. Yearwood. Welcome, sir, welcome. Wonderful to have you. That shirt looks a little tight. I think that might, I think that might cost a little bit. I might better fit elsewhere. Dr. Yearwood, sir. Okay, but no, seriously. I remember my first year of marriage, the pastor that counseled us, he said, you know what, even when things become difficult, as you stand on your own 2 feet, do not go back to your parents asking for nothing unless it's a serious thing. You're adults now, right? You're a serious commitment. You've made that decision, and you should have put things in place to stand on your own 2 feet, correct? And I thought that was fair. So let me tell you, we have an issue with intergenerational poverty, yes? That's something that plagues our country, and therefore it needs to be a serious focus because that impacts every other aspect of our economy, and our country, and our culture, and our society. So that's not something that I would say I have experienced, but I would say for a couple of years, I had some salt water and bread, and it was a difficult period. And if I have that experience, there are people that just haven't had that for a period in time, but they have lived it. They have lived it in ways that I think some persons really can't comprehend. And perhaps my words can't do justice. So in terms of saving, for example, saving towards the pensionable age, that's good. I think that's something that we should do. But what I thought would have been a good addition to that is asking persons to also invest some of what you save. You see, what's that? Not, well, I ain't going there. But I think that investing, I wouldn't say how, not at this point, but I think that pulling ourselves from a place of out of poverty, and this is what I'm talking about, the thinking, the holistic thinking that has shaped the way that we approach the budget, that has shaped the way that people attack the solutions that they think are best for the country. This is where it is birthed out of. right? So yes, we save, but I think that we must also save with the intention that we must also invest. Because when we save $1,000, at the end of 3 years, that $1,000 is no longer $1,000. Did you know that? So you're seeing $1,000 in the bank, but that is a deception because your $1,000 in terms of its purchasing power now is what? $900? $950? $800? So it already isn't $1,000. But when you take a portion of your savings, not all of it, but let's say you take half of that or 25% or whatever you're comfortable risking for your investment, you're then able to multiply your investment and you're growing your money. So on top of these savings, encourage persons to invest. Incentivize that process or rather make it easier, make it more attractive for persons, whether private or public. Make it more attractive for persons to recognize, okay, this is a direction that I can go in that would make my money work for me. We grew up hearing for a long time that money don't grow on trees. But that's a lie. Money grow on trees. You just gotta plant fruit trees. Quite literally. No, I'm serious. Plant fruit trees. And then what you do with the fruit? Sell the fruit. So that only works not only from a produce perspective, but in terms of a financial aspect. So I'm just showing you here how we can not just move across in our sections and through our society, but we can move up and begin to have some elevation. I think that would be beneficial to those that are in serious need of it, which is the poor, and which is the middle class that are struggling today because we are not developing systems that are geared towards their upliftment and trying to pull them out of where they are today. Another thing I want to touch on is, and by the way, for retirement as well, this is something that Melissa I know will share on in a little bit as we were talking about it, but double taxation. That's another issue that's a serious issue that persons don't begin to think of from this moment, especially persons in my bracket, right, in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. But how can you tax persons on something that is already taxed? I mean, so my question is that something that we should do? Is that something that should be happening? And that's something I want us to ponder and to think on. And for persons to speak out on is something that should be addressed. That is a problem. That's a problem that I'm highlighting, a problem that needs fixing, and a problem that we need to address. So by and large, I see that much of what that we've looked at, I think, was catered towards the language of it, the general nature of it is catered towards persons that are of a upper class nature and of a wealthy nature. And they're a part of our society and community, and they must have a place in that. But they don't make up the majority of our society. The majority of our society is made up of persons like me and you, persons that are struggling. I talk to families, not on a daily basis, but on a weekly basis. But when I speak to families, there are persons that are struggling, that are hurting, that literally do not have enough. And it's not that they're not trying to not have enough. They're trying to have enough. But they do not have the support. They do not have the backing. They do not have the wherewithal to make ends meet. And how do we make that happen? How do we make that happen? So I want to offer, I think, what are some solutions that can, solutions, yeah, I saw that from the back with Mr. Coppin, that can bring us to a place, as I close, and I must say, as a pastor, I have a habit of closing 3 or 4 different times. But I'm accustomed to spaces that have a little more wiggle room. But as I said, I'll begin to wrap it up. As I said in the beginning, where's the justice for taxpayers? Where is our justice? Justice for the poor, justice for the middle class, justice for the upper class. Where's the justice? Because when you're telling me that from a place of mismanagement, this is one of the things I think that if we were to improve and money goes missing, and look, this is governments in general, huh? If money goes missing, if things happen that shouldn't happen, I think that there should be an element of accountability and transparency so that instead of money vanishing into the abyss, it is made to be accountable for, and that does not have to come out of me and you pocket and people that ain't got no money and putting strain on people that had nothing to do with that tobacco. Let persons then that had that issue fix that issue. That makes sense. I think that's fair. So I think that we have an issue of mismanagement that needs to be addressed. And I think that when that is addressed, that will put us in a better place To have the additional funds that when money is going to sports, when it's going to the impoverished communities, when it's going to our community centers that can be repurposed for daycares when parents have to work and they don't have anybody else to take care of them. When money can go into those things, that's another way you can help persons that are single mothers, right, and single fathers. We can put money into things like the community centers where children can be until they're picked up. So when money should be going to those places, it is not, and it's going to places that are not benefiting average Barbadians. The second and last thing, I promise, that I strongly believe in my heart, if there is a reason, perhaps somebody needs to come and tell me why we have a lot of land sitting around the place doing nothing, when we can have legislation that can, on a national or wider scale, bring that into a particular portfolio, and that can do a couple of things at once. That's going to allow persons that have land to begin to earn from it. That's going to allow the country now to save in terms of the amount of money that they spend overseas. So a lot of that now is going to be spent here. I heard someone say recently that some of that money can go to helping small businesses. Look, when we have the next crisis, not if, but when, and we have that calamity affecting businesses, which are the businesses that are going to suffer? Is going to be the small businesses or the large businesses? The small businesses can get hurt. I'm not saying that it's not going to affect most people, and believe it or not, there's some people that are not affected in this country. You hear what I'm saying? There's some people that will not be affected by crisis, but that's the 1%. So I'm speaking to the 99, and I'm saying that these are things that we need to put in place in the now, so that next year, year after, years down the road, that we can have systems in place that begin to lower the debt that we have as a nation, and better what? Manage. Again, the term management coming up. Manage the debt that we have through the communities. Welcome, Stefan, our shadow minister within the president's office. Welcome, sir. So then we can have better management of those things. And again, that trickles down to me and you and to people like us that it needs to trickle down to. So we have a serious issue. As I close, finally, as I close. Hold on. But no, on a serious note, we have a serious issue where we have a government that is, in some ways, I think, is presiding over a nation that is in crisis. And my friends, when we are in crisis, it is going to take radical intervention. We have to move away from the song and dance that we've been accustomed doing. We have to adopt a new attitude to attacking, tackling, and wrestling to the ground the crisis that faces us in the now. Because we're still using yesterday's solutions for today's problems. And that is something that we must come together. And as I said in my beginning, as I said as I opened, that is something we have to tackle collectively as a nation, as one people, because that's where the solution is. As the word says in the book of Luke, a kingdom divided, or a people or a country divided, guess what? It's destroyed. It can't function, can't prosper. And the people that always can get hurt are the people that don't understand the systems, the people at the bottom, the people that need a representation from persons like myself and those that you're going to hear this evening. And that's why we are here representing those persons. So friends, I want to say as I close, but I asked, no, seriously. But a serious question. How do we become a nation that seeks out the poor only for their vote, and not a nation that seeks to elevate the poor, not only at election time, not only when it seems convenient or it seems fit, but a nation that recognizes that we make up the majority in the country, the middle class and the lower class, and that's where we have to have a shift in the way of our thinking as people and recognize, you know what, enough is enough. We got to put the old ways behind us, and let's begin to change the way that we think, change the way that we approach our issues, change the way that we look at the problems that we have, and come together, unite. As a country, we're not divided in our philosophies, divided in our culture, divided in our parties. Enough is enough. I've seen people come and they talk to me, and they're struggling to make ends meet. They're struggling to put two and two together. At what point do we say enough is enough? And at this I say, amen, I'm obliged to you. May God bless you.
Thank you, Pastor Thorne. You know, I always admire how eloquent Matthew can be. And it just really tells me that, because there's this thing, people think all politicians are like horrible, evil creatures, right? But this is a perfect example that that is not necessarily the case. And we want to change the culture of politics. As you heard Matthew said, we're fresh faces, we have fresh ideas, fresh leadership. So I just want to, once again, you know, repeat that, to put that out there. Also, you heard Matthew talk about the power in the vote. As I was walking through a certain constituency, there were a lot of young persons who did not understand how powerful the vote is. So I just want to, once again, repeat, your vote is very, very powerful. Even if you do not vote, it is equally powerful. Because regardless, as I explained it to them, whether you vote or not, someone will get the position. So you might as well have that person be someone that you believe has your interests at heart. So that's the most simple way to break that down. We also heard Matthew talk about planting money trees. But I would like to just extend that a little bit and say what we need to do as a people, as a nation, is start coming together. There's power in numbers, as you heard. You heard the lower class and the middle class is the majority. So I think we need to come to a place where we don't see each other as competition, even though some competition is healthy competition. But let's come together and put our monies together and invest as a community. From your various districts, come together. That's what the Indians do. That's what the Chinese do. So why is it that black people cannot do the same thing? We need to do it. Come together, invest your money, put your money towards projects in your community and watch it grow. Watch the money tree grow. Another thing I heard, a mention of the reply to the budget, and this is something that I do sometimes. I meditate and then I open the Bible and it puts me to a verse that somehow it just happens always to be relevant. And today, it put me to Psalms 31, verse 18, which reads, "Let their lying lips be silenced, for with pride and contempt they speak arrogantly against the righteous." And I was reminded, after our leader, Ralph Thorne, he made certain attacks. All of a sudden, now you have all this controversy coming out against him. And it just shows you that when you touch certain buttons, you have reactions which may not always be true. There's some persons out there who may want to say things to try to demean you. They may try to make you incredible or discreditable. But what you have to do is stay strong and continue fighting and do not let these people silence you. I want to welcome our second speaker, Miss Karina Goodrich. She's an attorney at law. Karina and I go way back from Honey Jam days. She has a beautiful voice. We used to sing together. And she's also a shadow minister of the state. And I'm sure what she has to share with you this evening will be quite insightful. So put your hands together for Miss Karina Goodrich.
Good evening to my fellow Barbadians. Good evening to the people of St. John. It's such a pleasure of mine to be here. Thank you to the president who gave me the opportunity to represent and to speak today. St. John is one of my favorite places that I'm always frequenting. I'm always out Baffland and going to Gall Hill and those kind of places. I find some of the most pleasant people are from St. John and Barbados. Don't get jealous now. All right? Today, I'm going to hit some points on health, and I made sure I got my paper. I didn't want to work the nation man too hard. I use this paper and keep you up to date with everything. Before I go any further, there's a young man right now in Barbados who was in the United Kingdom, and he got injured, he got stabbed in the head. And before I go any further, we have to show love in this country, and this is a matter to me that we have to be a part of, where we can add a hand and we can help. I want to encourage others, everyone actually, to go to the GoFundMe page and to ensure that you give a donation for this young man, because what happened to him is very unfortunate. And we as a Democratic Labour Party, we constantly say that we are looking out for people, so this is not for political gain or anything. This is a matter of just having a caring heart as a citizen to look out for that young man and to help wherever you can. We always sing that song where if you see your brother standing by the way with a heavy load, now you know the song. So let's execute that kindness and keep him in prayer. Even if you don't have anything to give, uplift him, huh? Thank you. Now, if you haven't as yet, before I go any further, I would like you to acknowledge the Honorable Minister, Mr. Griffith, to let him know that we're out here, because the Barbados Labour Party get and say that we can't get people outside. And today, we have numbers in here. Even before 4:30, persons were sitting in here, and they're waiting to hear what the Democratic Labour Party has to say. We are not silent. We are not done. This is the revival season for the Democratic Labour Party, and I'm proud of this party. I'm proud of where this party is at, and I'm always going to uplift this party. And if you're not clapping, you're a suspected bee right now today. Let me address health. I want the Barbados Labour Party to know that the health of citizens is a priority. And that is something we need to drive home. Because we need to be healthy people, not only for productivity, but for longevity also. We want to live long. We want to know that we are productive people who can go to work and be healthy while we are working. And one of the first things that I want to address today is the fact that they're not pushing healthy dieting enough and pushing healthy foods enough. I say that because if you still have a tax on things like vegetables and healthy products, and those healthy things are, and those things are very expensive, what we're saying is, as a Democratic Labour Party, remove the taxes off of those healthy items. If we are saying, Barbados has so many non-communicable diseases, Barbadians are suffering from diabetes and hypertension, and this is a matter that is of interest to your Prime Minister, then the taxes would be removed. Because when you have things for children, like say corn curls and the sweeties and so on, that are so favorable, and those are cheaper, and then you have things like the healthy things that we want, but are expensive, what do you think that people are going to choose? They are going to choose what is cheaper, unfortunately. And that is why the government needs to educate persons more. I'm not saying that, okay, if you tell persons that, you shouldn't eat XYZ because it's unhealthy for you, that everybody is going to listen. But if you get through to at least say 20% of the population, you have a start. But you have to start, and you have to make sure that you hit the ground running with these things. They talk about salt tax. They talk about the sugar tax. Okay, that's supposed to be a deterrence. But my point today is take the taxes off of the healthy foods. That's my point. Recently, I would have gone up to the prison to visit some persons, and I thought it was quite funny when one of the prisoners told me that what was on the menu was chicken foot pillow. because I've never heard of that one. In all my life, and I'm 36, I never hear about chicken foot pillow. So let me be the sport person for the prison now and say that we need healthy food for the prisoners too. We need healthy foods for the school children. Because while they're at school, they don't want to be having this kind of food that, they're just eating every and anything. Nor in the prison, people are complaining too. They don't just want to be, people might say they're prisoners, so they don't need to eat certain things. But remember, human rights. Those people deserve to be fed something that will be healthy for them too. I'm not going to stand and just, chastise them because they're behind bars. Because many times when people are behind bars, or when they realize that, this is time for me to change my life. I made a bad mistake. And that's an occurrence that I'm currently seeing right now happening quite often. So, I think that the government should encourage persons more concerning the healthy dieting. That's my point there. And as a country, we also need to push agriculture. Everything is interrelated, I know, because when I think about agriculture, I think, some people don't even qualify to get land as yet. They're waiting long for that. And when you're waiting long, if you have your own plot, then you'll be able to grow your own lettuce, your own cabbage, and everything, so that then you could be able to eat that. And I don't understand why still in this country, we are more consumers than producers. Because all of these things, when you think behind the scenes and you recognize, but wait, if I could grow my own healthy product, if my country was really pushing agriculture enough, then I could actually be a healthy person, and then this will lessen the numbers that are in the QAH because we will be a healthy population. And the more healthy we are, then we don't have to worry about this big expenditure bill. Because right now, Barbados is in so much debt. Big bills coming out all the time. And for me, I think that either you have to cut your expenses as a government, or you have to find better investment solutions in order to bring money in. So if you're not cutting the expenses, then what's going on? We can just hear about debt and debt and debt. And I tell you, if you haven't got the estimates as yet, get a copy of the estimates. It's for your own good and your own interests to read through those estimates. If you have trouble doing it, contact the Democratic Labour Party and get somebody who's a part of the DLP to help you to see that there's so much borrowing right now, and we are in, I would say, a crisis. Because the question is, who's going to pay it back? And yes, it's all fine and dandy to come back and say, oh, we're not going to tax anymore. But our question then is, okay, if you're not going to tax then, how are we going to get back that money? How are we going to pay our debts? That to me is not clear. No. I hear Dr. Sonia Brown was actually speaking, and she was saying that we need a new hospital. Our president has said it. The late David Thompson has said it also. And I also think that it's an idea that we should take seriously for consideration because of the position that we are in and because of the state of the hospital right now. So Dr. Sonia Brown would have said that there are a lot of sewage pipes and water running in the hospital and so on. But what they didn't say is, okay, if you spend money now to go and get this hospital, what's next? Because if you spend, then we need to know then, how are you going to fix that? But they didn't say that. So as I was pondering and thinking, I was saying to myself, we need to push medical tourism. Because yes, it will be cheaper to fix a hospital, but the reality is the new hospital is needed. So Barbados need to invest in medical tourism, and I'll explain myself further to say that right now, for instance, this will help a lot of the other countries to be attracted to Barbados, where, for instance, persons can fly from the USA and they can say, yes, I can leave my country and come to Barbados for surgery. But before that happens, this is the long-term plan now. Before that happens, we need to educate the doctors and allow them to specialize and to leave the country and go and get what they need. And Bajans, I mean, you know, because this is a country all the time that will, you know, push more foreign people than you push the Bajans. And of course, we love to sing that song that home drum have to be first. So we have to build up our people and make way for them. Because right now in Barbados, say 70 students are accepted into the University of the West Indies. And then out of those 70, you will have 25 Bajans, right? When you're done, you have to do an internship at the QEH. And then imagine out of that 25, there's no surety that you're going to have a job. You know, as a doctor, will end up going in private practice or what's not. But of course, you want to know that when you come out, you have a job here and not just in private practice. So they want the government to provide these jobs. How do you feel if you go, you do all this studying or what? So it's not easy to do any medical studying. Sometimes when you pick up documents and see a lot of those medical words, it's not easy. So these persons need incentives. They want to get paid for the job. We only see on the outside, you know, coming to the hospital and we want the help, we want to get treatment, but we still have to take these persons in society into consideration in that they work really hard. And if they don't like the condition at the hospital, then we're always going to be saying there's a lack of doctors, we are faced with brain drain, and the doctors are leaving here. So when you focus on medical tourism, then now you can actually pay the doctors more. Do you know in Barbados how much you have to pay for surgery? Surgeries will be up in 45,000 and 55,000, 10,000 if you have an issue with a cataract. If you can't get these things from the QEH, then you end up spending a lot of money on the outside in private sector. Very, very, very expensive. And let me tell you, if you're in the lower class of society or middle class, you're still struggling to pay these things. So we want to ensure that there's easy access to health care, where it's for the masses, it's for everybody and not a particular set of people in society. We have to be sure of that. So I'm giving the Barbados Labour Party a tip, but I copyright this, yes? This right here from the DLP. Another fear of mine too is that when the country is in so much debt and the DLP regains power, which will happen, because even tonight we're going to send a message to Mr. Griffith that, you know, too late shall be your cry. You had a good term and you didn't do anything. Right now you still see Baffland out there. The road rocky, 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 rocky. St. John residents know that a lot of the roads up here are very, very rocky. Just a little, you know, just let him know that. The roads here are too bad. And it's been a long, long, long time anyhow. You had enough time. Good. Another person that I don't want to forget is, another people that I don't want to forget is the nurses in Barbados. I'm concerned, yes, because when nurses go to the Barbados Community College, right? They were getting the associate degree, then it was upgraded to a bachelor's degree. But imagine, when you get the bachelor's degree, your pay don't change. So everyone wondering, why the nurses ain't doing this, why the nurses ain't doing that, why the nurses ain't doing this. This might be why the nurses ain't doing this, why the nurses ain't doing that. Because the government, right now that's in power, hasn't considered them as a people. Right now they're just hiring the persons, bringing them in from Ghana and so on. What's happening to the nurses right here in Barbados that if I standing next to you, I got an associate degree, got a bachelor's. We ain't pushing education enough where people will feel like, okay, let me run and do my bachelor's because I know there's something, there's an incentive to make me feel good as a person that I studied for this. So there's a difference between the 3-year program and then there's a difference with the 4-year program, and I'm advocating for them that they should get a higher salary. If you have time to bring in people, then give the people a higher salary and take them into consideration. We, the Democratic Labour Party, are taking them into consideration. Don't get distracted at all of what's going on right now, people of Barbados, with the famous actress that belongs to the Barbados Labour Party. There's a famous actress in there. And the great thing about an actress is that by the performance, you remember them and you know their name. Because right now they are attacking the DLP for an equalizer. And if you follow politics, you will know who I'm speaking about without me saying a word. One thing I learned in law is that in civil law, the case is proven on the balance of probabilities. And in criminal law, it's beyond reasonable doubt. And one thing that I will always drive home is that you're always innocent until proven guilty. So don't be distracted with the attack on Mr. Thorne. Focus on what is going on here. We're not the police, we're not the judiciary. And our Prime Minister also should not try to be the police or the judiciary and play her role. Don't direct that you would ensure that anybody be prosecuted. Don't make those sort of comments, because then we gotta really wonder what's going on there. Exactly. We don't want no case closed situation. I'm moving on from that now. Barbadians are tired of the long time waits at the hospital still. True. The misplaced files still. True. The wasted of materials still. True. The non-availability of materials. True. You always will say still. Good. Poor maintenance. And I said it last week too. The environmental issues that we have are why you see a lot of people can't go to school and they're not healthy enough to be able to go to work. Our children, let me take a moment to just acknowledge Dr. Ramona as the Minister of Education, because the present one is not doing anything. So we, as the Democratic Labour Party, I have to throw that in there, and I want to thank you for doing a good job. Because I know by the time in next elections, Bajans are very smart people, and they will continue to say it out all the time. You know how to choose, and you definitely know how to vote. You have to treat you right, or you will be out. Pain is certain, but to the BLP, it seems to be optional. But to us, Barbadians, it's not an option for us. We need it fixed. We need it fixed now. True. Government spend millions of dollars. Yet so don't St. Lucie closed down. You know what I mean? So what's happening there? We take a moment of silence for St. Lucie. Because something down there dead. A little birdie said that it closed up because I'm here like waiting to be sold. So we will see what's happening. But the QEH, what I would say is that it's bursting at the seams because of all these water issues that it's having and burst mains or whatever is going on there. It needs to be fixed. We need proper management, and I've said this before, that proper management is not going to just come from hiring somebody as a new CEO, whatever. Accident and emergency, we have it looking pretty, but it has made the delivery of healthcare harder because persons are still complaining. We are still here waiting for things to be fixed. And before the chairperson come and tell me, time is up, I want us as Barbadians also to remember the mental health persons of this country. Because when we think of health, we are constantly always thinking of physical health and so on, and we're not really considering the mental health in society. Those persons shall not be forgotten. Even when I was by the prison, persons were saying, we are not able to get certain books and magazines. They wanted to hear Bible scriptures. They want to be able to read, to, keep themselves mentally composed, yes? And I don't see enough seminars being had in this country for persons with depression. And sometimes it don't even come to depression. It might be just an at-home problem that you're suffering from. You want somebody to talk to. Don't wait till then you see a suicide on the news or you hear about suicide to then say, oh, we should have done better. We should have done something for these persons. It's now that we have to move. It's now that we have to get things implemented to help these persons in society. What about a program for when they want to come out of the mental and they want to get back in society? We know there's stigma, and we have to deal with that. The government needs to deal with that. I need to say we, because I feel like the DLP is who's going to come and fix these things. Knowledgeable people. We have brains here in the DLP. Another point that I'm wrapping up with, no supplies. Families have to bring supplies to the QAH for their loved ones. They have to clean and feed them. What about the fact that the food is prepared offshore the hospital? God help us if the van that is bringing the food, if the van get liquor or something happen, God forbid, then what will happen? Take these things into consideration. Build a healthcare system that is affordable, accessible, and sustainable. That is the DLP philosophy. And I have to wrap up and say, Prime Minister of Barbados, you're articulate, I understand. You took a picture with Mr. DJ Khaled, and I want us in Barbados not to forget those in the culture and art section, because I myself, if I was a prime minister in this country, I had the opportunity to meet such a man of that caliber, or to even meet Rihanna. I would have ensured that a conversation would be had for the people of this country to help Barbadians who aspire to be musicians to become who they want to be. It wouldn't be just taking a picture for my fame or for my glory. Richard Stout, the late Richard Stout, was a man that his heart was such that he wanted to see the singers of Barbados really go far, and he tried. I came up in Richard Stout Teen Talent, and he really tried. What's happening right now in Barbados for the musicians? It's not enough. We have a star, a famous star, Rihanna. And there's nobody else now in line that right now gets that close at this point of time. But they want to get that close. So don't spend time taking the 67 out of Barbados. Remember that when you think of the medical tourism, let the flights come in to bring money into Barbados and not the 67 out. I love you, St. John. I am a representative of the DLP, and I'm not moving. I thank you for your time. God bless you.
Thank you, Karina. That is a prime example that beauty and brains can exist in one person. And it's funny that Miss Garish mentioned DJ Khaled. Because when he was here, he kept saying, I want to breathe the air that Rihanna breathes. But nobody told Mr. Khaled that incinerator smoke killing people. Has that issue been addressed? We heard Karina mention that health should be a priority, and that rather than taxating, you should provide incentives for persons to eat healthier. What does that mean? It means that instead of taxing salt and taxing sugar, as Karina rightfully said, we should be making fruits and vegetables and healthier foods cheaper and more affordable. I know there are complaints all the time, oh, the DLP don't bring no solutions. Someone's just complaining about the DLP all the time. Well, you've heard several solutions this evening, so that can't be true. You also heard Karina mention about the prisoners. So before y'all attack her about saying human rights, prisoners have human rights too, let us remember there's a large population of those prisoners who are actually on remand, which means they have not been found guilty. They are still innocent until they've been proven guilty. So there are human beings in there that need and deserve to have healthy foods. Without going any further, I would like to introduce the third speaker for this evening. Mrs. Melissa Savory Gittins. She's our chairwoman for the Women's League. And she's also the Shadow Minister of Gender Affairs. And here we have another young, vibrant lady, which is another example that beauty and brains can exist in one person. Let's give it up for Miss Savory Gittins.
Good evening. Try it again. Good evening. Now, I'm not going to be like Karina and tell you that St. John is the best place because all the Philippines in here know. Philippines? Philippines? All right. St. John, I'm sorry, but I'm drummers this beat first. I want to thank St. John Branch, however, for having me here this evening and for giving me the opportunity to speak on gender. Now, when we think about gender, for me, when I first looked at the portfolio, which wasn't very long ago, I had to really reshuffle some furniture in my brain because I realized that gender is bigger than what most people think it is. If you ask a person, what is gender? Some people say it's sex. No, sex and gender are two different things. Then you hear people talking about gender equality and gender equity, and they use it interchangeably, but guess what? Again, they are two different things. So let me give you all some education first. It's not a seminar, but it's good to learn a little bit as you go along. Agreed? All right, because I like to learn, so when I finish, anything that I miss out, tell me so I can add it in for next time, okay? A deal? All right, thank you. So equity is what? Fairness. So something might be equitable, but that doesn't mean that it's equal. So I was giving Matthew a story, an example earlier, because we were talking about gender, and I said to him, he said, but that don't make no sense. I said, yes, because I might need a 2-foot ladder to get her on the roof. You might only need 1 feet. Somebody might need 6. So is that equal or is it equitable? So now you might get somebody 25, everybody get 25 cents, but I might need more than 25 cents to my bidding. Somebody might only need 25 cents. Some person might need 10 cents. Do we give everybody the same thing? So then that is where equality and equity are different. All right? We together? All right. So we're talking about sex and gender. What is sex? No, Steve. Stop. Steve, stop. Steve, children might be listening. No, that is not it. Not that. Sex is biological. So you could be male or female. That's it. There's none other. However, gender is more culturally defined. And you can get deeper into the social constructs of what gender really is. And I wouldn't go into all of that this evening, but I just wanted to give that a little teaser before we dig a little deeper. And this evening, I want her to address and focus mainly on the ladies. Yes? Because more than 40% of our households are headed by females. And that's important to note. Now, man, I see your faces looking a little gloomy. Don't feel nowhere. It's not about you today, okay? Don't feel anyway. It's not an insult to you, but that's what the reality shows. And when you listen to the budget, I heard, again, Pastor talk earlier about cost of living. And we don't understand that cost of living, there are no new taxes that you can see, but you can feel it. And you feel it where? In your pockets. And we just talk about the females heading the households, but also know that females get paid the least in this country. Most jobs are held by females. If you go to the gas stations, you find women. The caregivers. I was speaking to someone again this week that was telling me, the care program that they started for the elderly, they get $400 a week. And when you don't take taxes out of my $400, if it's taxable, you got to add it all and see. And then you take NAS out of that, how much are you really going home with? And they got to pay bus fare. I got to go in the supermarket. And I might be paying rent. I got to send school children. So, and I could go down and keep on going down and going down. How much money does that person really have? How much does that lady really take home? $25. Does she even get any to take home at all? And then we are seeing that taxes are not on the increase, but come on. No, that same female go and put herself with a male, okay, because she want help. Before she know it, she may now have another mouth to feed because she's trying to get help. And it's so the trickle-on effect, and it keeps building and building and building because of society. Once mothers are okay, children are okay. If children are okay, then the community is okay. And if the community is okay, then society is okay, which redounds to the country being okay. So we need to see it. It's a trickle-down effect through everything. We need to see it. Child support. Now, men get put in prison for not paying child support. But then do they still have to pay? Let me ask the attorneys. Do they still have to pay when they come out? Good. Not the money. The money still remains, but when you put that man in prison, now what have you done? How he can earn the money to pay the child support? Do we look at the trickle-down effects? No. No, we do not. I spoke about the lack of opportunities for females. Why are there lack of opportunities? Because most of the time, you're already in a rough situation. So you come out in a household is already in a rough situation. And you got to go and look for a job so you can't go and study. You got to go and look for a job. You got to help support the household. And before you know it, you got your own children in the same household. Again, yes, I have lots of conversations because I meet people and I try to have these conversations. 10 people in one house, 2 bedrooms. 15 people in one house, 1 bedroom. How is that even possible? I was trying to do the math in my brain, trying to figure out, so maybe it's get a little private time. How? But because they can't leave because there's no place for them to go. They need help. How are we helping them? How are we? How is the government helping? Just talk? Is it just all about talk? All right. Now, this party, the Democratic Labour Party, is a party of progressive people. The Democratic Labour Party have progressive thinkers. The Democratic Labour Party have put in place progressive legislation to help in matters such as these. We've helped with the textbooks loan scheme. That was the Democratic Labour Party. Give your party a hand for that. Hot meals. I was talking again to somebody else again this week. I like to talk. Anybody who want to talk to me about these things, talk to me, call me. School meals. And they were saying when the Democratic Labour Party first introduced this, it was a roar. That's a no way. Hot meals are hot meals for poor countries. Because they don't have a vision. They don't have vision. We have the vision and we will continue to have the vision for this country. Thank you. Now, when you have so many people in a household, you can have issues. So now we're moving to domestic violence. And about 2 weeks ago, if I'm correct, I heard a report on social media stating from the police that domestic violence have increased from 2022 to 2023. That's what they say, not me. I read it, okay? And they said it increased by 21%. 21%. I decided, okay, let me go on Gender Affairs website. Let me go and see what's happening. Let me see what programs are being put in place. I scroll, and I read that the page keep on. Every time I pull it down, it bouncing back up, and I'm pulling it down. They say, what's going on here? But that's all. That was all to the page. I thought I was doing something wrong. I thought my Wi-Fi wasn't working. I was like, pulling it down, and but again, I don't let them come and say anybody ain't doing nothing. I'm here to ask the questions and let them tell us, or better yet, show us what they're already doing. assault and wounding accounts for 55% of those domestic violence actions. 55%. And the police say that there are 268 officers short. That's what they say. I can't wait to tell you what they say. I give you what they say. So what does this mean for us? If there are 268 officers short, if domestic violence is on the increase because of poverty, so you can't leave, so you go outside and take licks. I just telling you what is happening in the country. 55% assault and wounding. However, I read in the Barbados today an activist saying the numbers that were quoted by the police is nowhere near the truth, that they're higher than what is actually being reported. So if we think 21% was high, please note it's higher than that. How does this affect gender? Think about it. Who do you think are these main victims of this violence? The women. So now you teaching the children how to commit these actions against their mothers, against their women, against their neighbors, and then we can say that crime. Well, they must say crime down. They say major crime is down. Major crime. I Google what's major crime. I'm a lawyer, so I gotta, Google is very good for these things. If you're not sure, you ask Google. Major crime. But that doesn't fall into major crime. That is minor crime. And they say here that minor crime is up by 9%. So, that's why it's got to listen real good, Because everybody say, no, crime down, crime down. That's not what they said. Major crime. So we have to listen and pay attention to what's really going on. The minor crime that is up, you know what it is? Petty theft. Petty theft. Breaking the supermarket and carry a tuna. How you gonna put a man in prison for carrying a tuna or corned beef? That mean he hungry, right? All right. He ain't carrying the money. I would have to put something to help him because obviously he was hungry. All right. Where is the intervention is my question. I ain't accusing nobody of nothing tonight. I just asking questions. Where's the intervention? Why does these numbers keep rising and not falling? What's happening? Where's the intervention? How are we working to assist these families? Because it ain't just the mother, it's the whole family. Because you have these children watching this violence and thinking it's fine. How is it affecting them at school? How is it affecting them mentally? And they could go on and on and on. I just spoke about the violence. And I said one of the reasons was what? Overcrowding, right? Because what? They don't got no houses. We talk about hope. We talk about hope. Hope. We got hope. Y'all have hope? So I sit down and I say, I wonder what hope really stands for. And they come up with a few things. Help our people eat. And I was like, that's what it should really, but then it can't be for that. That's for us, trying to help our people. But then I was like, then it's holding over people's eyes. Well, not Felindy. Holding over people's eyes. Y'all feel that in yourselves, not me. I'm not getting into that. But again, because of this progressive party, during my Kalashi time, I know we had houses. I know the DLP had houses. But the government claimed to be progressive and this big government and can't build a house. What are they doing? And 10,000 houses. Anyway. Don't pull. All right. So we have homelessness because the poor people in this country cannot afford to buy a house. They cannot afford to pay a rent. Do we really understand how dire things are in Barbados, do we? Barbados in a crisis? We are. We had a middle class. Hear the words I said. Had. There's a middle class in Barbados no more. Everybody know poor. Poor. Listen, I watched our Prime Minister in Parliament talking about rough turn. Look at this chart. I get this chart do for one to show one that when the BLP in power, things up. When the D's in, them down. But you know why? Because the D's gonna come and clean up all the that one the left. All the rest. We got to clean it up. So then the DLP is look bad all the time. And somebody need to say, because when we come in now, we not gonna go and tax the people to death. To try to pay off all the debt that you left out there. And you borrowing, and then want to talk a big bunch and show people figures. And people gonna say, oh, it's a love for true, boy. She telling the truth. No, she's a liar. She telling lies. Don't fall for it. Do not fall for it. She trying to pull one over in the eyes. What the truth is, we gotta clean it up all the time. Stop with it. Stop letting her tell you all lies. I done it soon. So after all of this, no, we know gonna look at mental health. A man be hitting you every day or telling you things that are unkind. It can affect you somewhere, somehow. Them children, let me think about families. David told us somebody said they call families first. We in St. John. Families first in this country. Me and Matt walked sport. Families first walked. Me and cares though. Me and cares. When I believe that, stand there and believe that. Me and cares or she pertains to her words, not mine. Her words are pertains to her words, not mine. So we got suicide on the rise. Females. Have we ever seen females in this country on the road with children on the street? And we think things getting better? At every corner you turn, you see somebody selling something. I never see so much of that boat in Barbados yet. Everything you want, you can buy off the street. Drive down the road, man got water, man got snacks, a man got bread, a man got... Because everybody trying to do an honest way to make an honest dollar. But we putting people in crime. It is the government that is causing this country to be the way it is. Because the people are hungry. We don't want them to do. The court system, the length of time now. So I drawing a plan. I hope y'all following the plan. The court system now takes forever. So you got these domestic violence. And you got incest. A lot of it happening. A lot of it is happening. And it getting swept under the rug. Right? And then you keeping back these children in court for 10 and 15 years and as adults to go come and relive and rehash what happened to them 10 and 15 years ago. We need to address it. It needs to be addressed. How do we want healing to take place in these children's lives and these adult lives if these things are not addressed? And I can end with this one. I got a lot more, but I can end with this one. The aging population is who? Male or female? The majority is who? Statistics say females. It says females, right? And what are we doing? Like Matthew said, double taxation. We taxing the old people out the little pension, right? And then they can't live. They go beg the children. You see the children that struggling to make their own ends meet. We are doing nothing for them. Why are we doing this? An article last year, where Bart is asking to stop the double taxation. Bart asking for it. I'm asking for it tonight, Prime Minister. Stop double taxing our aging and elderly population. We need to stop. So, the cost of living up for them, but if they earn more than $45,000 a year, they're going to pay taxes. Do we know how much it is to put somebody in a nursing home? I had my grandfather in a nursing home. I had to pay $2,200 a month, and that was a reasonable one. I had to dig through a whole pile to find one at that price. And then God carry, that cheap. That was trying to tell you how to dig through. And then I had to carry Pampers. God carry roll-on. God carry shavers. God carry everything that he need. I had to carry. Ensure. If you start Pampers, whatever you need, you still have to carry. So you got to add on now to that money. And I'm saying, and you expect now that that person's pension should support them now, they got to take the money and give government. They got to take the money and give the government. And they know we vex with people for dropping off the old people at the hospital and left in them. I ain't saying it right, don't get me wrong, but think about it. If I'm struggling to eat and support myself and I got an elderly person there, it's fight or flight. So you're going to do what's in your best interest at that time. Most people. Yeah? It's not right. So but give these people the money. Stop thieving it. Let people keep the money to work hard and to save the money. Let them have their money. It's only fair. I'm asking the Bureau of Gender Affairs to put together some programs. I ain't doing it for one. People say, oh, we want solutions. No! You get paid, though. Let me tell people that are listening, because I have people that tell me, oh, you're big up. You just get paid from DLP. The DLP don't pay me. Them ain't got no money. They don't pay me. All right? So do your all job. Look for one of our solutions, though. Stop asking me for these solutions, because y'all know we have them. Don't. You want to pay consultants? Pay me. I'll become a consultant. All right? The DLP will send me willingly to help y'all. We need some programs. We need some policies. Where's the gender policy? I was looking for it. The last one I saw, I think, was 2016 or something. 2016. Where's the gender policy? Gender is something that is constantly evolving. And we are only doing things, I realize that the gender do things on the international scene. But the home drums does beat first. Y'all Prime Minister want to go to the UN, but home drums beat first. I come along, I always heard that. Y'all ain't hear that too? Home drum, my grandma gonna be 95 Friday. Happy birthday, grand. Home drums is beat first, that's what she taught me. So my question is, I need to update her gender policy. The first thing I want. The people of Barbados deserve that much. When was the last gender assessment of Barbados? That is something too that they usually do. I ain't seen that on the website. I searching. If it there, show me. Forgive me and show me. Ask Steve. No, some people will say, because I tell myself, I try to think about the questions that people will ask me. But they have a lot of women in parliament now, and a lot of women in this position and that position. What does that mean? Does that mean that? That mean what? That gender is being recognized and so on? Smokes and mirrors. Smoke and mirrors. That is all it is. We may lose. Now, I printed this off the website as well, the minimum wage in Barbados, because I wanted, when I spoke about jobs and the underemployment of our women, the minimum wage in Barbados, $6.75 for shop assistants. $8.50 for domestics, and so basically $68 a day, $340 a week. So tell me how much you can do with that. Tell me how much you could do with that. So what I'm going to say to you here, pay attention, listen. Don't let anybody continue to pull wool over your eyes. Listen and listen well. Thank you all for listening to me, and have a wonderful night.
Thank you, Melissa. That was passionate. And that just goes to show, as Melissa said, we are a progressive party. We are a passionate party. We are the party that care about the people of Barbados. We are not a party that believes in making things look fancy, but we believe in making things work. We have to get back to the basics. We need to get back. We need to start paying attention to things that actually matter. The education system, the education infrastructure and the structures, the healthcare system, the healthcare structures, the roads in Barbados, minimum wage. Those are the things that really matter. Not the UN and flying around, going to Dubai and sipping champagne. But the rights of the citizens of Barbados, those are the things that matter. Now, without any further ado, I would like to introduce our final speaker for tonight, who who really and truly really needs no introduction, you know. This is a man who has taken this party from the ashes. And again, we shall rise. I don't want y'all to forget that. This is the man who, when the whole of Barbados was cursing the Democratic Labour Party, he said, no, I will not have it. And he took it upon himself to put his face out there. He put his career on the risk. He put his family at risk. He recruited all the talent you see today. And he said, you know what? As my sister said, gender equality. He recruited women. And not only recruited them to say he's recruited women, but he gave us a voice. He gave us active roles, and he continues to push us forward. So give it up for my president, Dr. Ronnie Yearwood.
Thank you very much for that, Tyra. Thank you, Matthew, Melissa, and Karina, for your spirited interventions tonight. I want to begin by saying a big thank you to the people of St. John and the St. John branch for having us. It is a pleasure to be here tonight in St. John. And I want to start by saying, whenever I come to St. John, miraculous things seem to happen. The last time I was here, and we now have a new leader of the opposition, who is the political leader of the Democratic Labour Party. So I don't know by the end of tonight what other miraculous things may happen. We may end up in government. We may end up in government before tomorrow. I really want to thank the executive of the Democratic Labour Party and the General Counsel and the rank and file and the friends of the Democratic Labour Party and the family of the Democratic Labour Party for all they have done in the intervening years to hold this party together. The reality is when the party had, Steve's is called it, using Obama's word, the shellacking, the shellacking, many persons walked away. Many persons were not brave enough to come forward and wear that yellow or that blue shirt with pride and be part of this party. But the rank and file, the friends of the Democratic Labour Party, they never left this party. And they stood tall, they've always stood tall, they've put their hands to the plow to ensure that there is a Democratic Labour Party, that we can stand tall today. The rebuild of this party has been consistent. It has been hard work for the last 2-3 years, even before that under the last president. And we owe the persons of this party, the membership of this party that has stood in the trenches and have been the opposition in this country, who have never let their voices be silent, whether it's on the internet, whether they were being crowded out by other members from the other side, whether they were being cursed in the fish market for saying that there's a dem when you go in the supermarket and you say you're still supporting the party. You know the lashes and the licks that you took to still claim with pride that you were a member of this party. When I stood for the presidency of this party, people asked me if I'm mad. My career, you gonna associate with them, Ronnie Yearwood? Man, you can't be serious. You got a bright future ahead of you. What about your family? What about your friends? What will people think of you? And my response was, I do this for the people of this country, and because I love and care about this party, and this party has a place in the future in this country. And I will not be given lessons by anybody in this country about the role that the Democratic Labour Party has played and that the membership of this party has played in keeping this party together and revitalizing this party. When the windows was dropping off at headquarters, bring the window and pay. When the board wanted repairing, they turned up. When we were fixing the cafeteria, we were fixing the hall, when we were fixing and wanting new air conditions, some of them are here and call the names, they turned up. When we wanted the electricals done in that place, they turned up. When we needed insurance for that property, they turned up. And tonight, you deserve a round of applause because you have stood the test of time to this party. You have been there, you have endured it, You have endured the suffering, and when the morning cometh, you must be there to share in the rewards and the gains of this Democratic Party. Let me tell you, I will not forget you. We will not forget you. You will have a place in the history and a proud place in this Democratic Labour Party and in this Barbados going forward, because you deserve it. You have been the opposition. You have let your voices be heard. No one has ever silenced any true Democratic Labour Party member of this party. No one has ever silenced you. You were on Facebook. You were in the newspapers. You were on the radio programs. You were fighting in your churches. You were fighting in your community groups because you understood the value. You understand the philosophy of the Democratic Labour Party as always standing by the people's side. This party is the people's party. This house is the people's house. So tonight, I thank you. I pay respect to you. I honor you. And I want you to always remember that this Democratic Labour Party, this is your party, because you have stood the test of time. You have built every brick in it, and you continue to do so. And I thank you for your support. I thank you for believing in me that I was somebody worthy. That poor boy from basketball, and just tell me my you story, ain't it different for any other poor boys in basketball or anybody else? And it is different. Because when I was poor, nobody else ain't poor. I could tell you that. That's a true story. So my story is a unique one. And my story is unique because my story was only made possible through the vision of the Democratic Labour Party. Through the fact that this was a party that provided free education, because if I didn't have that education, I would not be here. I could not have gone to university, gone to school. I would not have been able to afford the chances and the opportunities to make something of myself, to be able now to make something for my family and the next generation. Melissa talked about intergenerational, Matthew talked about intergenerational poverty. That is how you break it. This party has always been at the forefront of dealing with the issues that the people of this country face. Mr. Steve Blackett is here, and you often hear me talking about Steve. Steve is a quiet but effective minister. Steve, through the Bridge program, intervening directly into the lives of families that were at risk in Barbados to move them to the next level. You had a budget, you had a minister in Kurt Humphrey who still, 2 years later, cannot get the amalgamation of social services in Barbados done, cannot get the interventions that were done under the previous government completed. And then you would have the Prime Minister and the government of Barbados let you to believe that the Democratic Labour Party has done nothing. Rubbish. That is utter rubbish. And I am here tonight to give you the facts, the unvarnished truth about the role of the Democratic Labour Party in shaping this country, and not just the role in the past, but what a Democratic Labour Party government will do for you in this country and for the people of St. John, the people of St. Andrew, the people of St. Peter, the people in Christchurch, the people in St. Michael, people in St. Lucie, what we will do for you and for your lives. I saw the Prime Minister in the budget pull out some charts. And I could only smile, because what the Prime Minister did was a high level of deception. And the Prime Minister somehow failed to recognize or to tell you that the highest level of growth and development that ever took place in this country took place under a Democratic Labour Party government. So, by somehow an act of amnesia or forgetting, the Prime Minister start from around the chart only start from 1975, 1976, as if that was the beginning of modern Barbados. Everything else she forgot about. But let me tell you, the golden age of economic development in Barbados that has yet to be surpassed. I want you to listen, I want you to bear that in mind. The golden age of economic development in Barbados that has yet to be surpassed occurred between 1961 and 1973 under the astute leadership of Errol Barrow and the Democratic Labour Party government. That golden age is what set the pace for development, and for everything that we now understand as modern Barbados, from our hospitals, to our schools, to our welfare system, to the economy, to small businesses, to homes, to the Venezuelan projects that you had in Wanstead, the development of rural areas, support of agriculture. Everything was laid between that 61 and that 73 period. That has been the golden age of economic development in Barbados. There's nothing, no amount of spin doctors, no amount of lies, no amount of doctrine, nothing can take away from the fact that that period of Barbados saw some of the greatest economic development and growth in this country, and it occurred under a Democratic Labour Party government. Now, what the Prime Minister does not like to tell you is that if you try to take away that period, well, you know what? Let me take out the period where Owen Arthur, and what ain't gonna be left with? Not much. So if you want to take away one period, well, I could take away your period too. We can take away the Owen Arthur period, and what have you been left with? And what she's also left out is that even the so-called Owen Arthur period cannot overtake the Albarra period between 61 and 73. That is just the reality. I am not here to fight some fake battle with the Prime Minister or the government about B, do versus D or whatever. I am here just to set the record straight, because when you leave this room and you call in on your call-in programs, you need to have the facts to understand when somebody call in talking about how this was the best age of development for Barbados, and the Democratic Labour Party is always, she had the chart, every time it go down is the Democratic Labour Party fall. Rubbish. The period that laid the foundation that even allowed her to be the current Prime Minister of this country occurred under Albarra. Now, admittedly, there are always crisis periods in Barbados. There are always external shocks that affect Barbados. The first time that Barbados went through that in the modern period, the 74 to 75, you had the oil shock. 98 to 82, you had another oil shock. 90 to 92, you had the Gulf War. Then 2001, you had the World Trade bombing. And then between 2009 and 2019, we know that we had the local debt crisis, which was spurred by the international debt crisis, which we know that President Obama, for example, called the greatest recession since the last Great Recession. And then we had, in 2020, we had the pandemic. So each of these periods have been driven by certain external matters. And Melissa is right. Following each of those periods, you have a Barbados Labour Party government, and then you have a Democratic Labour Party government, which usually has to come in to try to fix the issues that they've been left. What a lot of people fail to recognize, and I want you to go and do your homework, I want you to listen to me very carefully. When the Democratic Labour Party government took over in that 2008 period, and we've been bad at talking about this, but we can talk about it now. Because sometimes once you start, you're going to start and you're going to keep going. Never too late. When we took over in that 2008 period, the debt had already started to climb from 2006, 2007, and we were already outside of our borrowing limits. We were already owing nothing. Had already started to pile on the debt because he saw a crisis coming and he was trying to shore up the money. So the reality is, when the Democratic Labour Party took over, the debt was already starting to climb. The global crisis hit, and the Democratic Labour Party was forced to try to navigate what was a very, very difficult situation. The reality is, the Owen Arthur government in its time failed to fix the roof while the sun was shining. If it was the so-called golden period, why was there no sovereign wealth fund built up to save money to be able to buffer for the next crisis? Where were the adequate amounts of money put aside to help Barbadians through the difficult periods? It was not done because they get licked out in things like the same World Cup, borrowing for the last World Cup that we are still paying back for. These are facts. So if the Prime Minister want to talk graphs and charts and facts, these are the undisputed facts about Barbados. So you have a situation where this Democratic Labour Party, this party has faced some of the most challenging periods in this country, but during those challenging periods have tried to navigate and ensure that the people of this country can still eat, can still live, can still send school their children, and that we can still have development. Think about it. The so-called biggest crisis, biggest economic crisis in modern history, in that financial crisis, in that 2008 period to 2018 period. And what happened? How many schools get built? We build schools? Yes. We fix roads? Yes. We established new programs to help at-risk families? Yes. We were still funding the BDF program? Yes. All of these things were happening during what was one of the most challenging times. Flip this, come back to this. You have a government that likes to tell you they had COVID, ash, and a freak storm, and them can't do nothing. Their hands tied. Every single time they open their mouth, COVID, ash, and a freak storm. But when the Democratic Labour Party wanted to say and talk about the fact that they had to endure some of the most challenging economic situations and times that this world has ever faced, no, you can't talk. No, of course we have to talk about it. It is time that we revisit and put the record of this party straight. This party... And when I became president of the Democratic Labour Party, I told you it is my one duty. I will fight for this party on the inside. I will fight for this party on the outside. I'm going to fight up with anybody who I think threatens the future or harms this party. You have to face me as the elected president of this party. I will fight and I will be with you. I will not let anybody sully the name of the Democratic Labour Party and talk foolishness when it is not warranted. This party had to face one of the biggest crises in this country, and did we get everything right? No. But we got a lot of things right, and we have a lot to be proud of during that period. There are things that we should have done that we did not do, but there are lots of things that we did, and we did them right. We built schools, we expanded nursery spaces, we provided housing. Difficult period, and we were still able to build houses. Wait, you said enough. No. You don't get him here with just saying enough. You don't get there with just saying enough. Let me tell you. Let me bring you figures, because sometimes we get weird. We don't talk with the fact. So look at the figures here. Houses were built in Marchfield. We had the rent-to-own programs in Worth Hall, French Village, Fort Hill, Woodbourne, Saints Court, Stewart's Court, Country Park Towers, Ford's Road. Then you had Green St. George. Look, I'm going through. And then you had the rent-to-home, the starter homes. You had the starter homes in Lancaster 1, Lancaster 2. Then you had Parish Land. You had the commercial lots in Lancaster 2, the starter homes in St. Philip. These are things that a government under undue stress and pressure during the most difficult financial crisis this country has ever endured and the world has ever endured were able to do. Let me get back. No, man, this is seriousness here. Refurbishment of the Allerton Day Nursery. All that was done. Repairing the Sterling Children's Home. The sports programs that Tyra talked about last week. Constructing the pavilion at Bailey St. Philip. Refurbishing the netball stadium. Then you had the upgrading the Briars Hall playing field in Christchurch. Training 156 young persons during that period for mentorship and attachments. All of these were things, and there's more. You had the constituency councils. You had the David Thompson Memorial Football that has just been miraculously... It just got reintroduced, and it is called the Prime Minister's Football Tournament. You had this party providing energy grants to assist the disabled and the unemployed. And we launched a national farmers incentive program. I wish Ainsley was here, we could talk about that. We launched a national tractor cultivation project to modernize agriculture. There's more. There's so many things that this party has done. And I want us to get out of this slump and stop taking lashes and foolishness. I even didn't call the term because I want y'all to stop using the term. This party has done things and contributed to the development of Barbados as any other political party in this country. We have a record dating back from 1955 that we can be proud on. It is a record that we can run on. It is a record that we can defend because we have been able to uplift and provide for the lives of people. But is that enough? It is not enough. And it is not enough because you do not win elections in the past. You win elections in the future. You win elections about talking about what you are able to do to create a better life for the people that you are asking to vote for you. Tyra called it right. You have to go and vote. You have to vote because if you don't vote, you have not been an active part in the decision making to shape your lives and the lives of people around you. And that is where you win elections. You don't win elections and harping on in the past. Yes, we can defend. We can use that past because it is important that we understand and that we are proud of where we've come from. We have taken too many kickings, too many lashes. It is time. It is over. We are about to walk out of the desert of Easter and into the new sunlight and into the glory that God has provided for us. And it is time that we take that mantle. It is time that we are anointed with the Holy Spirit, whatever we want to call it, and that we understand our true purpose as members of this party and as people of this country. It is so fitting that everything that has happened. And if you are a person that understands the spiritual world and you understand your Christianity and you claim it for what it is, everything that has happened to this party in the last couple of weeks began on Ash Wednesday. And it will come to its fruition this week as Easter. Everything. Think about it. We have had our 40 days and we are coming to the end of our 40 days. And when we walk out of that desert, we have been through our temptations, we have been through our trials, we've been through our tribulations, and when we walk out of that desert, we have to walk out of that desert whole and with purpose and with pride and with strength and be ready to lead this country where it needs to go. That is my message to you tonight. That is my message. And this party has a plan for you, Barbados. Do not be fooled. Those young people say, don't get tired. We have a plan for you. We understand your suffering. You don't need the Democratic Labour Party to tell you that you can't pay your bills, or that you got the highest gas prices in the world, or that our gas prices are 150% in some cases higher than our Caribbean neighbors, 50% higher than the global averages. These are statistics. Are you making this up? That we have dropped on the Human Development Index by 7 places, while every other country around us is going up on the same United Nations Human Development Index. But you have a government that can brag about growth. You have the central bank governor who is at least for once in his life bold enough to admit that ain't working. Because he said a few weeks ago, the growth in trickling is not reaching down. And you know that for a fact. When you go to the supermarket, that $100 when you pull out, burn. I wish I'd bring $100 worth of groceries tonight and lay them up on the table so people can actually visualize what it is. Because you got $100 a chicken for 40, that's half the money gone. You even didn't buy a pack of peas yet. You ain't buying the potatoes. You ain't get the seasoning for the chicken. You've done nothing. These are the realities. When people are complaining about these things on brass stats, they are hurting. And I don't think the government understands that hurt. I don't think they get that hurt. They don't get it. But don't talk about Ryan Strong, because he didn't turn up. He didn't turn up this morning. And I realized something about this government. And it's becoming very telling. Marsha Cattle was supposed to be on brass stats last week with me. She was a no-show. I said, all right, that's a blip. Second week running, Ryan Strong was supposed to turn up. He didn't turn up, so that turned into a trend. So you're going from a blip to a trend. So you have people that are able to get into Parliament under the guise of parliamentary privilege, call my name big and bold. I want the president of the Democratic Labour Party to do this, and I want that. But who are unable outside that cloak of parliamentary privilege to come to answer, not to me, to answer to you, the people of Barbados, and answer your questions about a budget. The people of Barbados should be insulted. You had a pre-budget discussion, the government didn't turn up. You had a post-budget discussion, the government didn't turn up. But they're going to get in Parliament and grandstand and do all sorts under parliamentary privilege, but are unable to come into forums like this and to come to meet the people of this country and talk to the people of this country. If it is one thing that the Democratic Labour Party, and if it's one thing that I encourage all of these members of the Shadow Cabinet, all the members and leadership of this party, face the people of this country. They will tell you unpleasant things, that is part of it, but you face them, you knock on the doors, you take your lashes, and you walk proud like a man or a woman. That is what you do. If you cannot do that, then this is not the job for you. It is easy to hide on the internet. It is easy to hide on online programs. It is one thing, let me tell you, to knock on somebody's door, have them look you in your face and tell you, I don't like what you're doing. I don't like what is happening. You need to correct this. That is how you know that you are true to your purpose and you're true to this calling. That is how you understand your role. Yesterday, and Janice sent me a message. So, Government of Barbados and Charles Griffith, if you are listening, Janice from Moorsland, tell me. No, this is a true story. I am not making this up. This is a true story. Janice from Moorsland, I wanted me to report this because Janice from Moorsland said to tell the government and tell Charles Griffith to come and fix the road, that she's tired. She said, I said, Janice, I can call your name? Say, yes, you can call my name. Janice said, I do not care. I am tired of it. It is time that they get up and they do something. So the same way that last time we were here, we got the grass and the field from College Vanna cut, and he get up and he said, man, the grass didn't high as he waist. It was only about high as his knee. But he's a real tall man, so even if the grass is high as my knee, it's still pretty high. I will hope that now, because we talk about the road, Janice, I hope that they come and fix your road now in Moorsland. And the people in Edgecliff want you to do something with the field too. So I just plug in with all the things that I was told. People in Edgecliff want you to fix the playing field up there. They want you to cut the grass and they want you to fix the playing field. And there's only some of it. Martins Bay, don't talk about the fish market at Concept Bay and the haul-out facility, which was poorly built, $1.3 million, and now they're trying to do remedial work to it, and nobody can understand how the remedial work is going to work, how it's going to happen, because you put down some boulders to try to block off the sea to do the work, but nothing is happening. The jetty is falling apart, nothing is happening. But you spent $1.3 million, and nobody at the fish market, at least the fishermen, cannot understand where the $1.3 million have gone. These are realities that the people of this country are facing. So I want you to also think about this budget. And I said tonight I want to do an analysis of the budget because I think it's one of the things that have been missing in this budget year in terms of trying to understand the budget. I know everybody say, the budget ain't mean nothing, there ain't no real budget. The reality is a government has the ability to pull levers and to do things for its people. Now, when you look at the budget, I want you to listen to me carefully on this. The budget created one of the largest regimes for tax credits for businesses that has ever been seen in a budget in Barbados. So the government claims the budget was a people-centered budget, but that is not true. The budget actually was a budget trying to create a new investment environment in this country. But the reality is the government has gone about it the wrong way. the government created a number of tax credits. So put it this way, you know when you go shopping and you buy something and they say, you know, it costs $100, you pay the 100, but you file for the little tax, you file for the rebate, and it's gonna cost you $70. Who's ever filed for the rebate? Who's ever get back a rebate from anything when they got the product? Nobody's don't do that. The government create a whole set of rebates and tax incentives and tax refunds covering everything from IP, the environment, what else? Education, technology, all sorts of areas. But the reality is what the government should have done is to create one single tax credit under which businesses could apply if they so fit, and then they would get the current refunds if they want to go that way. The point is, I don't think that tax credit systems actually incentivize businesses to do anything, because if you know you have to wait so long to get your money, you're not making that investment in the first place. Given the record of this government in paying back VAT returns and paying back your income tax and dealing with any money the government owes you, there is no confidence really that any businesses will invest in Barbados because of this new tax regime. On top of that, tax for businesses is already low. So what other incentives does the government really need to offer to get businesses to be here? You're already paying, 5 or 9%, as the case may be, which is no tax really. What the government should really have focused on is creating, if they wanted to, as I said, single tax regime, but importantly, they should have focused on creating tax credits, if that's the way they want to go, for you. So what happened with the mortgage tax credit? What happened with the child tax credit? What happened with the same pension tax credit? All of these are things that would allow you to have more money at your disposal, or to be able to claim more money at your disposal. These are the things that would have done something for you in this budget. The government created a tax credit for housing relating to flooding, but the reality is, how many houses can flood? And you can only claim it on a certain basis if your house is flooded. So the tax credit for your housing related to flooded, not just a tax credit for your normal housing, for you to go and hire a painter. And if you hire a painter, what has happened? He can hire another somebody. There's 2 people that probably are 3 people employed to fix your roof. Then they got families. They're going to go in their small corner shop and buy something. They're going to share some, but you might got a little girlfriend. We ain't encouraging that kind of behavior, but you can put some money in your pocket. But that is how, I ain't getting into what you said. That is how an economy works. That is how money flows through an economic structure and how things work. You have to be able to put money in people's pocket so that they can employ somebody. Because what's the first thing that happens when you got the money? Tell me, how many people in here, this is a real question, how many people in here have actually done any repairs for their house in the last 6 years, unless it was like serious, I mean like the place about to fall, and even then, you're going to try to patch it. How many people? So I want the online audience to know we got a room of over 50, 60 people here, and one person has done serious repairs to their house. Therefore, none of the people in here, as would normally, has employed anybody. Think about it. That means that you don't employ nobody. There's 60 carpenters plus 60 painters. That's 120. Let me do some numbers. That get employed. Because you cannot therefore afford to do the little repairs. And you know what Bajans would do? You'll paint the house one time, you call in the plumber, you fix the skirting board, you do the roof, over and over for a year. You have actually been generating employment for people. You might not say it like that, but you say, man, Bob is just my friend. I had Bob from down the road. I just get Bob. But you are a generator of employment. And therefore, you are generating income that person passes on to somebody else. And they pass it on to the shopkeeper, who going to pass it on to the retailer, who going to go to the shop down the corner that they sell the bulk drinks, and you going to buy them for the karaoke on a Friday night. Somebody going to buy the chickens, somebody going to raise it, and it goes on and on and on. That's how you run. That's a small economy. 300,000 people. This is rocket science. The only way to keep this economy flowing, you have to have money moving. That is why the governor of the central bank, for the first time, was so alarmed when he said it ain't trickling down. That message is the money isn't moving. The money is trapped. It is not moving because you are not getting it. And that is the problem with this budget. This budget did not prepare or provide you with a platform to have money in your hands that you can pass around and through the economy. Because you're hiring somebody to cut your grass sometimes, or you're cutting it less. I bet you're probably cutting your grass less. Or you cut it yourself. Or you're trying. Or you're doing it less. That weekend food that you used to buy, you probably say, well, you know what, this weekend I can't buy that. But if you don't buy the weekend food, surely shop can't open door. And the children that she's trying to send in school, that's going to be a problem. So everything affects everybody else. And that's the reality. What this budget should have focused on, and I don't want to spend time about them, because again, what I tell you, elections are won where? In the future. That is how you win an election. Don't let anybody ever fool you. David Thompson won this election because David Thompson talked about what? The future. Families first, building a new country, more than an economy and society, because he was talking about healing the social bonds. Elbar won this election where? In the future, talking about things that people thought were impossible. Think about it. Free education, we take it for granted. When he announced, everyone's like, you can't make that work. We don't know who you going to get. School meals, it seems basic now. But go and read some of the historical records. People were like, how are you going to deliver school? What are you talking about? This doesn't make no sense. None of this can't. But you have to dare to believe in the impossible. You have to dare to dream and think about the future, because that is where we win. That is how we will recapture the Barbadian public. Yes, we're going to criticize the government, drop some lashes in them occasionally. But you know what our task should be? Our task now has to be talking about what the Democratic Labour Party will do, what we want Barbados to look like for ourselves, what we want Barbados to look like for the future. That is what we have to be about, the future. We have to be about these young men and these young women. We have to be about them because they have to take care of you. Again to the plan, don't worry, and say trap. We're going on that road. Look at that statistic. 1 in 4 over 60. 1 in 4 over 65. 2050. 1 in 2 will be over 60. That is scary. What did the budget do to address the fact that we literally have an aging crisis on our hands? All the young people in this room, and for those watching who's telling me that the Democratic Labour Party wouldn't got grey beards and I don't see no women, I'm going to tell you, I got enough young people here. Back off. And I got enough women too. Well, y'all is trying to break my bad behavior there. But that is a serious crisis, because some of the things the budget could have done is provide the ability for those of us who can work from home to be carers, and then provide a tax incentive for you to take care of your elderly. Because the last thing any of us would want to do is to have to drop our elderly mother or father off at the hospital because it has come to that harsh decision, I can't feed them and feed my family and myself. What am I supposed to do in that situation? These are the choices that people face. How has this budget helped to reposition or to deal with that crisis? It didn't. So how could it have helped? If this were a Democratic Labour Party delivering that budget, what are some of the things that we could have done? Tax credits. I don't necessarily like them, but if that's the system, maybe go a tax incentive and a tax credit so that you can care for your elderly. And if you don't want to do it that way, free up the system so you have more money so that you can employ carers. Then, on top of freeing up that, you free up your time. Because if you have an elderly parent at home who's suffering from dementia or who's suffering from something, all of us know that is trouble. You still got to go work. You might got a 2 or 3 year old. How do you handle that situation? If you get work late, the boss won't fire you. They're going to say, man, you lazy work. But you trying to juggle, dealing with your mother, maybe changing shit before you left home, putting some food there, trying to make sure all the stoves turn off because you don't want anything. And you ain't got the boy to watch your big June next door. So June, check punch you from a call about 12 o'clock. If you live nearby, you're going to rush back home. These are the realities of Barbadian lives. Y'all know what we're talking about. And how does a budget position you to deal with that? These are some of the things that should come out. So the government was bold enough to tell we that we got aging population as a crisis, but no solutions. But then people can want to look at the Democratic Labour Party. You don't got the solutions. Really? Y'all for real? Sure. But the government was brought to tell you statistically what is going on, a whole budget, and not address nothing to address the crisis of the elderly. Nothing to address the crisis that some of these people in this room, you will need people like me to take care of you. That's just the reality. You can't escape it. And we need the tools to be able to take care of you. We need the extra money in our pockets, and we need, importantly, time. Because sometimes you don't want to put your parents in a home. Some of us want to be able to manage it in our own houses. So therefore, the people who want to do that, how do you help them as a government to do that? That is what a Democratic Labour Party government would be about. These are the serious things. And while you're managing the elderly, how do you provide opportunities for young people to be able to keep the economy going, to pay for these things? Because when you get to a certain age, you big and you bad now. Or when I hear who over 60 or who approaching, when they're big and bad now, walking about when the knee must be hurting, half hurting, and thing when they're big and bad. But the reality is, you ain't going to be big and bad for too long. And you will need support. So how do you make sure that those who are in their 20s, 30s, and their 40s are incredible, sustainable jobs so we can support you in your golden period? Because who wants to be living 70 to 80 and not living in a respectable, dignified way that they can feel good about themselves, have been surrounded by their grandchildren and their family? Who wants to be shunted aside on a hospital bed at QH? Nobody wants that. And exactly, nobody want to be there, period. And I am sure the people who are forced to make that decision, I know people say, man, these people are wicked. They can't even drop them off. I am sure nobody don't do that out of something had to force you to make that decision in your life. As bad as you might think these people are, something will force you to think that is what you're going to do to your mother or your father. Something, the numbers are too great just to be one or two wicked people. It is more than that. We have to understand and see where people are. We like to punish people instead of providing solutions. You get the idea, man, poor people need to save. I hear that all the time. Gaslighting. You are working. I met someone yesterday. She said, look, let me tell you how much. $350 a week. $350 a week. What out of that $350 are you saving? And I'm not dissing the ability of financial management and saving. I'm not saying that you don't try to do all these things and set yourself up for a pension and all that. But you are making $350 a week. How do you save that? What are you saving? You may have one child. You may be trying to fix up your house. You're living in the house that your grandmother left for you, or your grandmother's still there. You're living in one part. Whatever you're doing. How do you save out of that? $350 a week. If you say you spend, well, groceries will cost you about $300. So already you left out with $50. You being serious? How do you get to work? How? These are serious issues. So then where is the environment to ensure that we have jobs that can pay more? Where are the projects? Let me read you something from the budget, because this is the budget analysis, and as they're weaving in what a Democratic Labour Party will do. So the devil is always in the details, as I tell people. Go to the appendix of the budget. The fiscal and the economic measures, there were, let me tell you how many there were. There were 48 fiscal and economic measures. Then there were 10 social measures. So that's 58 measures. We know them didn't get implemented no time soon. The last budget, they barely implemented 20 of those measures. And then you come down to Appendix 5 of the budget, capital costs for projects. So this tells you something about this government. So they listed HOPE, the HOPE program. Ongoing investment, no amount, just ongoing. They got other things in here. Children's Home at Bullins in St. James, 10 million. Scotland Rehabilitation Program, 200 million. So I'm just showing you there are things that they've listed so that you can obviously cost the projects. But as you go further, there's a lot of information unavailable. Old Eye Hospital, information unavailable. Mobile site cleanup at Needham's Point, information unavailable. The Blue Monkey, formerly Escape Hotel, information unavailable. Ursuline Convent Campus, information unavailable. Charleston Park, these are all the things that the government brag about in projects. Information unavailable. National School Refurbishment, information unavailable. Q8 Expansion, information unavailable. The design and the reconstruction of the polyclinics that they've been bragging about, information unavailable. The town center, the road widening at Lancaster, St. James, information unavailable. Youth Advanced Corps headquarters, because they promised them a headquarters, information unavailable. The National Stadium and the regional grounds, information unavailable. Food processing plant at Balls Plantation, information unavailable. A whole set of measures, and actually no information is being provided. Barbados Water Authority Capital Works Projects, information unavailable. The MPC Expansion Program, information unavailable. So you are running, you have gone to the country. Think about this in real terms. You have presented a budget which is supposed to tell the people of Barbados what you're going to do. And for key capital works projects listed, 58 projects listed, and information unavailable for a large majority of them. How then are you budgeting? How are you planning? How are you going to manage when you do not even know how much money these things are going to cost? Where are you going to get the money from? Unavailable. That's what I can tell you. Added to that, you, in the debt restructuring, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit, and I think it is important for you to appreciate what happened in that debt restructuring. Because the reality is, this government likes to pretend that that restructuring was some magical formula, or that that restructuring did all of these amazing things for Barbados. But the reality is that that restructuring did not work. And we are actually feeling the effects of the debt restructuring in Barbados. So the reason the government is constantly borrowing from the IMF program is because the government defaulted on the debt in 2018, the first time in the history of Barbados that Barbados did not pay its debt. Therefore, in doing that default, they had to write off $1.3 billion from the national insurance. The credit unions lost about $33 million. That is your money. They wiped out the local bond market. So all the money that the old people will often take to buy the bonds and the treasury bills, to make a little something to give to their grandchildren, all of that is wiped out. All of that is wiped out. So therefore, the only lender right now that is giving the government of Barbados any real money is who? The IMF. So somebody asked me the other day, so wait, Ronnie, the government would do anything the IMF said? Well, I said, well, why? Yes. Because what other choices do you have when you destroyed all of the other opportunities and ability to get money. You wiped out the international markets. Because if you default on debt, how are you going to go back to international banks and tell them that you're going to pay? You wipe out the local debt market. So how do you not come back to us? Because when you talk about the local debt market, you're talking about Barbadians. So you hear the government constantly talking about the pent-up money that is in the credit unions and the banks and how we are not investing it. Why should we invest it in a government that literally wiped out your money? They wiped it out, but made choices for other people. Think about who suffered and bared the brunt of the debt restructuring. The National Insurance Scheme, the Central Bank of Barbados, the credit unions of Barbados, and you. Those are the pillars of this country. And all the other private investors, guess what happened to them? Your debts were extended. You get a little less. You might not get it as soon. All of those are the kinds of measures that were done to them. Why weren't we good enough for those measures? Why weren't we good enough for those conversations? But you took it upon yourself as a government to wipe out the savings and the money of the people of this country, and now you have the audacity to return to the people of this country to say, you know what, all of those billions of dollars that you have saved, we will let you to now invest them back into the government of Barbados. No, not at all. Because they do not understand how to manage this country. And I say that with all seriousness, you know. The Barbados Labour Party government has a problem of competence. That's kind of new. You did a budget last year and only 20% of the things that you said you were going to do have been done. Madness. And then you come back with another 58 this year. They're talking about Business Barbados to facilitate business, the environment in Barbados. They can create a new entity. Why would you create a new entity when you have Invest Barbados? You have Export Barbados. You got all of these other entities. How can you not amalgamate them, or how can you not give existing entities new remits? Why are you taking more money to create something? And as a friend of mine said, well, you're creating another entity, but you're going to put back the same structures and the same people. What do you expect to happen? So Business Barbados, it going to make a difference? If it is the same culture, because you have not tried to address the needs of civil servants in this country. Always talking about civil service reform, but what does that mean? Has anybody ever come and said, Betty, I see that you get work real late. You like your job. Betty, I see you get work real late. You got somebody at home that you've got to care for. Betty, how many children? What's happening in your morning? Okay, let's have a conversation. How do you expect to do civil service reform as a high-level exercise? It has to be a bottom-up exercise. I know it might seem something that can take a while. And you're thinking, what were you talking about? No, because this has been done in other countries. That is how Cayman has a top-class civil service. They literally went around and had to ask everybody, how do you feel about your job? When has any civil servant in this room ever asked somebody ask you how you feel about your job? Why you doing it? Why you ain't like it? What going on? People can say, man, you can't work, you got to do your job. Yes, but there are reasons why the receptionist isn't answering the phone. There has to be a reason why that teacher does not teach. There has to be a reason why that civil servant is not moving the file. Has anybody ever sought to find out, understand that, and then address it? Because the reason could be, I got pressures at home. I'm suffering domestic violence. The reason could be, I got care of my mother, and I worry about my future because I ain't got nobody else. My sister and my brother ain't good. I really got everything on my back. The reason could be that I'm struggling with my bills, and I need some help with that consolidation. I don't know what to do. The reason is, I actually don't like my job. I never wanted to be in teaching. I had really wanted to be a policeman, and they tell me I didn't think, I ain't here. The reason I could just be unhappy with my position, my mental health, people's mental health could be affected. When have we done a proper exercise of civil service reform in this country to understand what is happening with our workers and why they're not performing? But everybody want to beat them down over the head with a stick. And you call a government office and doing nothing. Do you really think that the average human being wants to be like that? Unmotivated, not do anything? No. Nobody in their right heart, in their mind, that is not how we are designed to be humans. They want fulfillment. They want to be happy. They want to be surrounded by loved ones. They want to do jobs that are important to them and that make them feel good about themselves. But when have we had those conversations with people in the civil service? When have we had real, genuine civil service reform? Instead, we keep adding institutions upon institutions, bringing in consultants. To do what? You need a consultant? Go and talk to the workers. So what's going on here? Nurse Ann, I see that you ain't really pulling. What's going on? Come. You come here. Come and sit down. Nurse Ann said, well, you know, I don't really like working with old people. I didn't want me to old people nurse. I really enjoy working with children. But I talked to the sister, and she told me I better go and work with the old people, or else I ain't gotten a job. You understand? And that Nurse Ann might not want to work. But that's not the area that Nurse Ann, but instead of having a conversation, say, well, you better go and do that. Why not have a conversation? Put the person where they are best suited and where they are happy to perform. These are the kinds of discussions that we have to have and the things that we have to do in a modern civil service. And then we wonder why young people are not coming into the civil service because you think that somebody who is 30, that you could tell them, and you could tell them so? No, because they're coming with a different attitude, a different mindset about job performance, job happiness. People want to be happy in their job. You know how many hours you spend at work? Why would you want to be unhappy? You go work between 9 and 6 o'clock on and you unhappy? And then you're unhappy in a job in a building that got mold? And then you're unhappy and your boss ain't working to do the deliverables? And they are unhappy because the government ain't getting a tax refund? And you ain't getting paid properly? All of these are the issues that we face. So when we talk about reform, when we talk about this budget has failed to address the fundamental issues facing this country. And what I want to do, because they're telling me that I gotta wrap up, even the leader has constraints and I have to follow the rules. So you gotta lead by example. And I want to talk about one big idea that I think that can help move this country forward. I have talked about it for a very long time, and that is the idea of creating special economic zones for investment and for jobs and things like that. But before I talk about that, I want to say, I think I can pull a Matthew. I'm wrapping up. Before I say that, I want you to be mindful that this budget represents, I think, the high point of the failure of the government to deliver for the people of Barbados. So let me explain that very, very briefly. Because what the budget really did, the budget tried to use the traditional toolkits for economic development. So it is a IMF-supported budget. So they're getting the money for the IMF, which is the normal lever that people would reach for. So the structural adjustment element is there. They're calling it other things Burton. Whatever, what is structural adjustment? They're trying to get more foreign capital into the country through creating this investment environment. And what we recognize is that these things are not working. That's the first thing. So then the question is, what can we do that will work? And I can get to that right now. Well, that too. A DLP government is what will work for you. So you had the investment program, and something else that you have to keep an eye on in this budget. The government is dismantling the concessions program. Now, and that's also IMF driven, and some people cheer that on. Now, why businesses getting all these concessions? And I understand that. But you have to balance this in a way that is responsible. Because businesses usually get concessions. Why? Because our environment is high what? Tax. You're paying 70% in VAT. You're paying import duties. You're paying this. You're paying that. How do you expect a business to then function? So if you are going to pull away the concessions framework, what you have to do then, you have to look at restructuring the tax framework. So you have to find a way to make Barbados more attractive to doing investment and businesses when it comes to the tax element. And that has to be part of the approach of this government, but that doesn't come out in this budget. Now, in terms of what we can do to make money, because that is the high point here, we have to look towards creating what I call service zones. Service zones are basically spaces within our economy and within our physical environment where we invite international businesses of all types to come and locate in Barbados. And they have to locate in Barbados because the international rules tell us this fancy thing called economic substance, that you have to have physical presence in Barbados. So businesses no longer can just be a postbox or a name on a door. You physically have to be present in the country. So there is a way that we can benefit from this, like our neighbors have done, Cayman Islands, Jamaica. These countries have created the economic zones that provide jobs for their people, that provide opportunities, and importantly, knowledge transfer. Because when the businesses are present, they have to have people on the ground. There's intellectual property, there's investment opportunities, there's jobs for people. And importantly, what this does allows more money to flow around in the economy. Because you have more opportunities to make money. You have more business. Because when a business come and people come to invest, what are they going to want? Places to live, right? Places to eat food from. They're going to need people to cook. They're going to need places to go out. They're going to need a clothesmate. All of these are services. They got to buy art. They have to interact. They have to listen to musicians. So when the government is thinking about tax incentive programs and targeting, how about a few for our artists? How about giving incentives to local restaurants that have musicians on nightly to encourage performance arts in Barbados? Those are things that our government can do that are practical and that help to provide opportunities and jobs for young people. So, in closing for the second or the third time, the economic zones are a way for this country to grow. Because right now, what Barbados essentially has is a growth challenge. Despite all the talk and the efforts of this government through this budget has not been able to address growth in this country. And the reason it has not been able to address growth is none of the capital projects that the government has announced since last year, 2022, and 2018 have come off the ground. None of them. And one of the things that we have to look to is how do we create new jobs, how do we create new opportunities, and service zones are one such thing. I want to leave you with one thing. Because today is Palm Sunday, and I want to wish you a happy Palm Sunday. And if I don't get to see you for Easter, I want to wish you a happy Easter. And I want to leave you with a verse from Matthew chapter 5. You know me, I like my Bible verses to end off things with. And it tells us, and I really want the Democratic Labour Party members, and I want Barbadians to take this to heart. You are a light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Now, the battle before us is for a united Barbados. The battle before us is those people who can eat at night and those who cannot eat. The battle before us is those who have houses and those who are homeless. The battle before us is those who are able to send school their children and those who cannot. The battle before us is those who are employed and those who are unemployed. The battle before us is to raise up everyone in this country so that they can too be a light unto this world. And that has to be the mandate and the calling of the Democratic Labour Party. You are a light unto the world. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Dr. Ron Yearwood. Speaking about unity, you know, one thing I realized, whether it is the Prime Minister of Barbados, our political leader, or our party leader, all of them could talk real long, boy. All of them can speak long. I don't know if it's a prerequisite for the job, but well done. I always say, you know, I am not an economist. I cannot even begin to understand it, but Dr. Ronnie Yearwood, he does such a good job at simplifying it so that the average Bajan can understand it. So I just want to say thank you, President. We appreciate you. We appreciate your knowledge. Thank you, all the persons who spoke today. We appreciate the time you take, because some people take it for granted. The time that you take every single week to not only come out and speak, but to do your research, to prepare, and to bring the facts to the public, and not just stories and fiction. So before we close and before we go home tonight, I just want to bring your attention to some events that we have upcoming. We have the Fun Day, the St. John Branch Easter Extravaganza on Saturday, March 30th, 2024. The admission is free. It starts at 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. and is at the Gall Hill playing field. And we also have the Bingo Night at the Arrow Barrow Auditorium in George Street, Belleville, from 7 p.m. on Thursday night, like I said, the 4th of April, 2024. The admission is $30, and there is a jackpot of $1,000. So if you're interested, come out and support. We're also going to pass around a little basket. So in the spirit of Christianity, please give to help this branch reach the goal that it does. Once again, thank you for coming out. Thank you, family. Thank you for the listeners who tuned in. The vote of thanks. Oh, we have actually someone to do the vote of thanks. I was not informed. Who it is? Who? Please come forward. Yeah, I did. I was doing it because, you know, nobody didn't tell me, but it's okay. You know, I need some rest too. I don't mind. So we'll have our vote of thanks, and thereafter we'll be on our merry way back to our home safe and sound. So thank you once again, and happy Palm Sunday.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Let me at the outset thank each and every one of you for journeying here this evening to listen to what I consider to be a very energetic and informative session. Let me begin firstly by thanking the chairperson who has set the stage for the various speakers. Some of the major takeaways that we here in this branch would have heard would be, for example, mismanagement stifles development, the removal of tax on healthy food, the disparity between male and female in terms of wages, homelessness, and a few more. And for example, the golden age of development between 61 and 72. Finally, we have also been given a very comprehensive analysis of the budget by the President, in which we are very thankful for. Therefore, we here in the at this branch should be better off at the end of the session. So again, I would like to thank each and every one of you, and I would like to take this opportunity to wish you a happy Easter and try to get home safely.